6 analysis. Brian here to give you guys Strikeforce Fedor versus Henderson, and probably one of the hardest cards to call this year. The card is stacked with great fights, but the thing is, a lot of these guys are very talented mixed martial artists. So I'm going to start with the main card, which I only do main cards. That's the one thing you guys got to know about me. So first fight of the night will be Scott Smith versus Tarek Saffiedine. I don't know how to say his name. 7-9. Scott Smith, very great striker. Most of his wins have come by a KO. And Saffiedine, great grappler. Most of his wins have come by a decision or submission. Scott Smith hasn't been himself. Hasn't won a fight in a year since his win over Kung Lee in December of 2009. Hasn't won a fight since. He's had 2 losses to Kung Lee and to Paul Daly, both by a TKO or knockout, both by a knockout and TKO. And I think Scott Smith is basically done for his MMA career. 32 years old. I think he's basically done. I think he's not going to win this fight. I think this fight's going to go the distance, and it's going to be for Saffiedine via decision, due to the fact he's great at wrestling, and Scott Smith is not the best wrestler. He's just a striker overall, just very great striker. So I pick Saffiedine via decision. Next fight, Robbie Lawler, coming off his loss to Jakar, fighting Tim Kennedy, who I want to say he's gonna a top, a new gonna be the next pretty big fighter in the Strikeforce Strikeforce middleweight division, and I'm gonna go with Tim Kennedy by the upset. He's gonna get the upset over Robbie Lawler. Robbie Lawler is just a very talented striker. Tim Kennedy can strike, but I think Tim Kennedy is gonna be taking this by unanimous decision. In the I'm saying he's gonna take the decision. Mostly he's gonna out-grapple Robbie Lawler. If I'm wrong, he's just gonna have a tough time grappling with Robbie Lawler. So I'm gonna pick Kennedy by decision. Next fight, Paul Daly versus Tyrone Woodley. Daly coming off the loss to Nick Diaz after a very great fight. He almost had the fight. He was close, but he succumbed to the powerful punches of Nick Diaz. He got outboxed by probably the best boxer in MMA today, Nick Diaz, and now he's fighting a guy who's very good at wrestling. And we all know Paul Daly is horrible on the ground. All his fights, basically, I'll call it all real losses have been lost by the ground. He has one TKO loss, but that's come from by a dislocated thumb. Let me change the views because my arm's getting tired. I have to use my phone. He's only lost one by a stoppage where he dislocated his thumb, and now he's going against a guy who's he's a top of the notch wrestler. He can wrestle you, he can submit you, and this guy I say is gonna beat Paul Daly on the ground, and it's just gonna be Paul Daly is just not gonna be able to do a thing. Paul Daly couldn't out wrestle, he couldn't out grapple. I'll say that. Josh Koscheck, Jake Shields, if the Nick Diaz fight went to the ground, it would have been Nick Diaz all day. Nick Diaz would have pulled a quick submission on him, because Paul Daly's jiu-jitsu wrestling game is just horrible. He has a purple belt in jiu-jitsu, which claims he does. I don't think he even does any jiu-jitsu at all. He can't win a fight on the ground. He's got to stay standing. He has won fights by decision. He's won fights by submission. But this fight is not going to be Paul Daly's fight. It's going to be one second. Let me check the record. I'm outside, and I hope I can get an internet out here. Yes, I can. Paul Daly. Sorry for you guys. Sorry if I'm taking your guys' time. So he has only won 2 fights by submission, which came once. He's never won a submission by a grappling submission, not by doing any lock, not by doing any choke. All submissions have come to strike. He's only a striker. He is not a grappler. He cannot grapple. So I go with Tyrone Woodley by another unanimous decision. Now to the next fight, which will be Marleos Conan versus Misha Tate. Conan great grappler. She can strike. This is for the welterweight women's welterweight championship. One second. And Miesha Tate is a good striker. This fight is just very diverse. It's kind of a diverse fight. They're making people who the weaker people have to fight the stronger people. I don't really. It's a tough card to call because those weaker people who are weak at that game are still very strong in that one other game. Miesha Tate is great at she's great at striking, great at submitting, great at submissions, great at grappling. But if you go against a woman and a very experienced mixed martial artist like Marleos Conan, it's just gonna be Conan. I don't know how to. It's it's kind of hard to say your name. I don't see Tate taking the fight by decision. I say Conan by a probably a second round submission if she's quick enough, because Miesha Tate's very great, very well-rounded fighter. So I say second round submission for Marleos Conan. Now to the main event. Probably the last fight we'll ever see Fedor if he loses this fight. His fight against Dan Henderson. The fight, I must say, is a tough one to call, mainly because Fedor is the man who can knock you out easily. He can knock anyone out. He's probably one of the hardest punchers in the heavyweight division as of today. And if he connects to one good punch to the temple of Dan Henderson, Henderson's going to be going down for that knockout. But Dan Henderson also he can counter that. He's a great wrestler. This fight will be a tough fight for Henderson because he's got to go against the heavier guy, and also in grappling, the heavier you are, the more advantages you got. This is going to be a catchweight fight. Henderson's reportedly fighting at 206, and Fedor's fighting at 230. Now, to this fight, I'm going to have a hard time calling because I picked Fedor to win against Antonio Silva, and I was wrong about that. But if Henderson could get it to the ground, he could win. But his jiu-jitsu game is pretty weak. He lost to Anderson Silva on the ground by a triangle on the guard. And if Fedor can get this into the guard, I see him pulling off an armbar, a classic armbar from the guard. So in this fight, I'm gonna have I'm kind of going into a non-prediction because I can't predict this fight. It's a tough fight to predict. So in the end, if this fight stays standing, I'm gonna have to go with Henderson. But if this fight goes to the ground, it's got to be Fedor all the way. And if this fight's gonna go to the ground, so I'm kind of hesitating to pick this fight. So I say this is gonna be a tough fight for Fedor. If he loses, we're gonna have to say farewell to that guy because he's not coming back. He can't really bounce back after 3 losses. But if he wins this fight, he could maybe keep going on. But it's very doubtful that he'll keep going on if he wins this fight. He's 34 years old, past his prime. So I'm picking Fedor by a first round submission. Alright, that's all I gotta say. Follow me on Twitter, it's in the description below. What else can you guys do? I'll check out MMA Socialist, Facebook of MMA. I don't run the site. I'm a runner of the site. We need more members, and it all starts with you guys. And I'll see you guys later. Alright, peace.